Right now, you are the only human species on Earth. That has not always been true. For most of the last 6 million years, multiple human species walked the planet at the same time. You are the exception. You are the one that survived. But the real answer to why you're alone is far stranger than you think. Picture the world 50,000 years ago. You are not alone on this planet. Somewhere in the forests of what is now Indonesia, a small human stands barely 4 feet tall, hunting with tools shaped like your own. In the caves of Europe, a heavier, stronger human builds fires and buries its dead with flowers. In the mountains of Siberia, another human species leaves behind nothing but a single finger bone and a tooth. None of them are you. All of them are human. And within a few thousand years, every single one of them will be gone. How does that happen? How do you end up as the last one standing? Start with the family tree. Your species, Homo sapiens, did not evolve in isolation. You evolved alongside cousins. Homo neanderthalensis, the Neanderthals, lived across Europe and Western Asia for over 300,000 years. Homo erectus survived in parts of Asia for nearly 2 million years, longer than any human species in history, including yours. Homo floresiensis, nicknamed the hobbit for its 3.5-foot height, lived on the Indonesian island of Flores until roughly 50,000 years ago. And the denisovans, known only from fragments of bone discovered in a Siberian cave, interbred with both Neanderthals and modern humans before vanishing almost entirely from the fossil record. At least 9 human species have existed. You are the only one left. That number alone should unsettle you a little. So, what actually happened to them? For decades, the simplest answer was violence. Modern humans arrived, modern humans won, modern humans erased the competition. It is a satisfying story. It is also mostly wrong. Paleoanthropologist Chris Stringer, one of the leading researchers on human origins at the Natural History Museum in London, has spent decades studying exactly this question, and his conclusion is more complicated than a simple replacement story. The evidence does not point to one dramatic battle. It points to a slow, uneven squeeze played out over thousands of years, across an entire continent. Climate was part of it. The Neanderthals were built for cold, stocky, and powerful, adapted to Ice Age Europe. But ice ages do not stay still. They shift. Temperatures swing. Forests become tundra and back again within a few thousand years, which sounds slow to you but happens fast in evolutionary time. A body built for one extreme struggles when the extreme changes shape. Your ancestors, with leaner builds and a wider range of tools, may have simply been more flexible when the climate stopped cooperating. But climate alone does not explain everything. Something else mattered just as much. Numbers. Population is not just about how many bodies exist. It is about how many ideas survive. Genetic studies led by researchers including Svana Pabo, who won the Nobel Prize in 2022 for sequencing the Neanderthal genome, suggest Neanderthal populations were small and scattered, likely numbering in the tens of thousands across all of Europe and Asia combined. Modern human populations, while still small by today's standards, appear to have grown faster and spread wider. A small population is fragile. One bad winter, one disease, one disrupted hunting season, and a small group can blink out entirely. A larger, more connected population can absorb that same shock and keep going. Here is the detail that surprises most people. You did not simply outcompete the Neanderthals from a distance. You met them. You lived near them. In many cases, you had children with them. Every person on Earth today whose ancestry traces outside of Africa carries Neanderthal DNA, typically between 1 and 2% of their genome. That is not metaphor. That is biology. Genes for skin pigmentation, immune response, and even sleep patterns in modern humans trace directly back to Neanderthal ancestors. The species did not simply vanish. Part of it became part of you. Pabo's research team showed that interbreeding happened multiple times, in multiple places, over thousands of years. The line between them and you was never as sharp as the history books made it look. So, if extinction is not quite the right word, what is? Think of it less like a war with a clear ending and more like two rivers slowly merging into one, with one current eventually overwhelming the other. The smaller population gets absorbed, gene by gene, generation by generation, until what is left is mostly one thing wearing traces of the other. Some researchers now describe Neanderthal disappearance, not as extinction but as assimilation, a population folded into a larger one until its distinct identity disappears, even while fragments of it persist invisibly inside millions of living people. The denisovans tell an even stranger version of this story. Scientists have never found a complete denisovan skeleton. The entire species is known from a pinky bone, a few teeth, and a jawbone discovered in a cave on the Tibetan Plateau. And yet, modern populations in Papua New Guinea and parts of Australia carry up to 5% denisovan DNA, more than almost any group carries Neanderthal DNA. An entire human species, nearly invisible in the fossil record, left a deeper genetic mark on living people than the species we have actual skeletons for. That should tell you something about how much of human history is still missing, sitting unexcavated, waiting. What about Homo floresiensis, the so-called hobbits of Flores? Their story is different again. Isolated on a single island, with no land bridge connecting them to the mainland, they shrank over generations, a known evolutionary pattern called island dwarfism, where limited resources favor smaller bodies that need less food to survive. They built tools, hunted dwarf elephants, and likely overlapped in time with modern humans arriving in the region. Whether direct contact ended them, whether a volcanic eruption did, or whether their isolated ecosystem simply could not support them once outside competition arrived, researchers like Matthew Totchery at Lakehead University continue to debate. The honest answer is that no one knows for certain. Flores keeps its secrets close. Notice the pattern forming across all these stories. Not one single cause. Not one single moment. Climate pressure. Population size. Genetic absorption. Isolated ecosystems pushed past their limits. Every human species that ever existed faced its own combination of these forces, and every one of them except yours eventually lost. Why you specifically? Researchers point to flexibility as the common thread. Wider social networks that allowed trade and information to travel across long distances. A diet that could shift between meat, plants, and seafood depending on what was available. Tools that adapted faster than bodies could evolve. You were not stronger than a Neanderthal. You were not more enduring than Homo erectus, a species that outlasted nearly every ice age your ancestors faced. You were simply better at changing, generation after generation, faster than the world around you could change first. Here is the part that should sit with you the longest. Extinction did not happen to them. It happened to humanity, broadly defined, 8 separate times, maybe more, with only one branch making it through. You are not separate from that history. You are the surviving branch of a tree that used to have far more limbs. The DNA in your own cells, if your ancestry traces outside Africa, is a quiet record of species that no longer exist anywhere except inside you. So the next time you feel certain that humans as a category are simply built to last, remember the bone fragments in a Siberian cave. Remember the small skeletons on an isolated island. Remember that being human was never a guarantee. It was a single branch that happened to bend the right way, while at least 8 others, just as human, just as real, did not. You are not the only human species there has ever been. You are simply the last one still telling the story.